Welcome to Insight Marketing Success, the podcast where marketing knowledge meets real-world experience, from vision to execution.
Welcome to IMS. Today we have Donnie Pingaro from
Energy.
Yep.
Energy Realty.
So Donnie, tell us who you are.
Yeah. Thanks, Ricardo. Thanks for inviting me to have this chat today. Really excited to kind of share some things about the industry and marketing, what we're doing in the industry. But, overall, my name is Donnie Pingaro. In a nutshell, I'm a real estate lifer and I'm a student of the craft. And I've just always been a guy who thrived on accomplishing more with less resources and enjoy doing it that way.
Wonderful. Well, tell us about your education. How did you go from graduation to where you are today?
Yeah, so my role today is Vice President of Brokerage Services at Energy Realty. And my professional journey started by getting my MBA down at University of Miami. And, interestingly enough, through my entire college career, what the MBA first and foremost taught me is I never wanted a job in Wall Street. So I took all that kind of education and it kind of put me in a different life path. But what I'm grateful about it is by getting that educational background and my MBA kind of training was it taught me how to approach problem solving in a very different manner. And, all my MBA buddies out there are smiling because they all say the same thing. Going through your MBA training, it teaches you to ask questions and think of things outside the box. And, kind of how I've evolved in saying it is like MBAs will see dots that people won't even see. We'll put them together. And that's kind of our secret sauce is through our training to do that analytical kind of questioning to kind of get you to the next step and then apply it to whatever industry you're looking to apply it to.
Wonderful. I have an MBA from the crossroads of business myself. So I know what you mean is more structured how you go about.
Yeah.
All right. What's the biggest marketing challenge you have had and how did you go through it?
Yeah, that's a great question. In today's landscape, it is changing like most industries so fast, real estate. And in terms of broker support, the biggest shift as we're all seeing right now is this massive consolidation to the mega brokerages. It's a very big shift that's happening because now you have Wall Street leading these mega mergers and they're really tipping the scales in terms of like, how does an agent or how does a brokerage compete? And, it's hard to compete if you're an indie brokerage or a small team. It's even harder to be profitable. And, that comes to how energy came about, a year ago was the question was posed is like, what if you can build a national brokerage to give boutique at scale servicing? And that is why energy exists. And that is what energy is building together to give someone who says, I have my real estate license. I do a really good job for my community, but I want to do it in not a mega merger kind of atmosphere. I want to be with heart and compassion, but again, have all the tools I would need to compete with those larger brokerages.
So let me understand. You look for these unique people and then energy, your company provides resources or the know-how, the technical resources or the marketing resources?
Yeah, technology in today's world, again, is kind of getting flattened out. With the emergence of AI and things of that nature, the necessity for massive resources and engineers and coders is no longer needed. So, software and kind of tech tools are kind of getting abundant. So to me, as what we're seeing is shifting, it's no longer that's what you need. Everybody kind of has that. It's really the bigger engines that the larger brokerage that bring to the table that are aggregating and making it tougher for someone who's very locally sourced and locally focused to compete. Okay. What energy brings to the table, it brings favorable economics. It brings all the tech tools you're going to need to compete, but it also gives that personalization of the experience. So when they do lean on the brokerage, they get a personalized kind of view of what really matters to Ricardo, opposed to just, hey, here's our link of solutions. Go where everybody else goes to do the exact same thing.
Okay. It's a more personalized approach.
Absolutely.
More individualized.
Absolutely. And we believe in the real estate industry, there is a large percentage of really good agents and really good teams that are looking for that level of personalization in terms of their brokerage support, their brokerage platform that they don't have today. and it's just not economically feasible to build it on their own in today's world, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay, pretty good. So let's talk about a marketing effort that you have done in the past where you expected to receive this much and you received this much, but you learned something.
Okay, so I would say right now in social media, a lot of companies and again, real estate teams and agents are making a plan, and the algorithms within social media specifically are changing so fast that it's very, very frequent that a brokerage or a team will push out a social media plan expecting to get X amount of followers, X amount of leads, and they're getting a much smaller portion of it there. And I think, it's really important to be cognizant of that not every marketing plan is going to work at the goal you're looking for, to know when to pivot, when to pull the plug, or when to double down. And a lot of that comes too, again, about being really wise with your resources to make sure you're watching those metrics, opposed to just kind of walking into that same brick wall again and again and again.
Talk about how you approach storytelling in your brand communications today, especially with energy.
Yeah. That's really important. At Energy, our DNA comes from our founders, Peter and Aaron Noble, very well accomplished professionals in our business. They've helped elevate two very, very successful brokerages in the past. And they were the ones who came to the table and said, we have a belief that there's a way to scale a brokerage, but to still do it with heart and compassion. And that's a very big part of who we are and why we exist. And frankly, and I think we may or may not have shared it, Ricardo, like I was ready to retire last year when I resigned from my last position, and I got to meet Peter and Aaron, and I fell in love with their vision. And that's what really committed me to say, I've got time and energy and passion for one more build, to build it with these great leaders that we've put together on our senior leadership team. Just give a better place for agents to compete and sell more homes.
Wonderful. That's great. So you got a calling for this opportunity. So
Yeah, most definitely. Definitely, I think we've all had those experiences where you meet individuals, whether it's personally, socially, business wise, you just vibe really quickly. And that's exactly what happened when we met the first day. The next morning, we both got on. We were anxious to get on the phone, and we both had just tremendous ideas of how I could help them and that I could fit into their organization very easily, and it just flowed very organically, and it was a lot of fun that way.
nice. So
Yeah.
who would be the ideal realtor to become part of Energy Real?
Yeah, our ideal agent is someone who is an experienced agent who is production focused. And that may sound like a very easy answer that everybody would love to have a bunch of production focused agents, but honestly, that's not what our industry is all about. You can be there's different shapes and sizes, and there's a lot of folks who are very comfortable selling 5 or 6 homes a year. We wouldn't say no thank you to them if they wanted to join Energy, but where someone's going to get the most value is someone who says, I sell 5 or 6 homes a year. I've been doing it for 4 or 5 years. I'm very good. I got great ratings, but I want to sell 10 or 12. And I've never had that kind of consultative, personalized backup within my brokerage to help me get over the hump to get to that next level of opportunity, not just for the extra revenue, which is always fantastic for that someone's family, but the kind of conversations that someone who's selling 5 or 6 homes a year completely changes when you're selling 10 or 12 homes a year, right? So it's that accelerator that once you get to that next level, it becomes easier to maintain that and actually easier to get to the third level on top of that. We're looking for hungry agents who, again, know the craft very well, are fantastic realtors, and say, you know what, there's more in my tank. I can do more, and I'm looking for that brokerage who can help me get there easier, faster, and less cost as well.
Wonderful. All right. Let's talk about Donnie Pingaro.
Yep.
Let's imagine that you go to a restaurant where there's these booths. You cannot see in front of you and you cannot see behind you, but you suddenly hear your name, and you realize that you're the 3 best friends, and they start talking about you positively. What are the 3 things you hope they say about you?
That's a great question. I'm going to break it down to personal and business if you don't mind. So, on the personal side, I would hope that any of my best friends would say, Donnie's why is his daughter. and everything he does from the morning he wakes up to the minute he goes to sleep at night is all about focused upon how his actions and kind of what he does can support his daughter. My daughter's 16 now. Can't believe that. Wonderful young woman. But that's my why. And I would hope everybody, firmly recognizes that. For business, I would hope it was still, I've heard it several times, so I'm going to go with that I've heard several people say, Donnie's the hardest working guy in real estate. He built his business on Fisher Island by really placing his clients first, above and beyond the bottom line of a deal. Proudly, when I was transacting, that propelled me to over 5,000 transactions in my career. So again, a lot of years, a lot of hard work, a lot of focus. But I would hope that would be the one takeaway my friends would have, is that super hardworking and always put my clients first.
Awesome. And a great father.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Donnie, you and I are old enough to know that life is good, but there are downs as well.
Yes.
And so when you experience a down in professional and personal, how do you ground yourself? How do you, stop the mind from going crazy?
Yeah. I think the word balance, right, is like such a powerful word. And I think from high performing, entrepreneurs, which I feel every real estate agent is an entrepreneur at a certain level, it's hard to find that at times. Personally, for me, I've always been a sports nut, and I've always used athletics to balance my life out. And I was very fortunate enough to, I played D1 tennis in college, and then later I was a competitive triathlete for a dozen years. And I still like to decompress and kind of get, kind of my thoughts together by being outdoors, swimming, biking, running. And we just relocated to Amelia Island, which is this, kind of hidden little gem here on the Atlantic Ocean in Florida on the north side. It's a paradise for outdoors. We have these incredible beaches with all these natural dunes, salt marshes for kayaking. So for me, it's being athletic, being outdoors, and very fortunate to be in a really wonderful place to take advantage of that day to day.
Wonderful. Okay, next question. What do you want Donnie Pingaro's legacy to be?
Legacy to be. I would say, in terms of my legacy, and again, I think it all goes in chapters too. When you first start your career, your legacy is you want to make your name. You want people to know your name. And I think when in the middle of your career, then it's like kind of stacking your accomplishments, so you can get comfortable to take care of your family and your friends. And I think the end of the career, and for me, it kind of happened organically. It's to give back, and that's why I'm not in transactions any longer. It would be very easy to continue to just keep on selling homes myself, through my own brokerage. But it just, it got to the point about a decade ago, it just wasn't fulfilling for me. And I found that, kind of helping nurturing and kind of mentoring younger or just, agents who have just kind of hit a speed bump is more fulfilling for me. So, I guess there's three answers to that. But I guess my final answer and final legacy would be with someone who really took time and heart to give back.
I like that. I believe in life purpose. And it sounds like this mentoring that you have that are going is a big part of your life purpose, to teach others what you have learned and mentor. So that sounds really good. All right. Let's imagine that you are able to whisper in your ear advice when you first graduated from college. Given the wisdom you have today, what would you tell yourself?
That's a long time ago, fortunately and unfortunately. But let's say if I could whisper into Donnie Pingaro, 1992, just got his real estate license, went into Byrne Reinhardt, great little regional brokerage down in South Miami there. I would have told him the importance of making a business plan, and when you're making a business plan, especially starting out, don't be afraid to shoot high. I definitely was not as structured as I should have been, kind of got away with it, but that was okay. I think the other thing I would have told myself was to be aware, that it's going to take being a little obsessed in your craft to hit those lofty goals. I was never afraid of hard work personally, but again, having that awareness what's around the corner to what it would take would be great. And then my final thing I would whisper to mini Donnie Pingaro would be comfortable asking questions and look for mentors in the industry. Exactly what I love doing now at this part of my career is something I never thought about and never took advantage in my 20s and 30s. And I think it would have helped accelerate and made my ascension to success been much easier, instead of making multiple mistakes, as we all do in our 20s.
Yes.
But I think without mentorship, we make more multiple mistakes. And I was definitely, unfortunately, in that bucket, but I got through it. It worked out well, but it could have been a smoother ride. I think that would be great advice.
Donnie, thank you very much for being part of IMS today. Is there anything else you want to tell our audience?
No, just Ricardo, thank you for your time reaching out. Love what you're doing for our industry and professionals out there. And again, I just would say to anybody who's kind of starting their career, there is a better way. There is an easier way. Just ask questions and find really great people who want to give back. And I think they'll all get better results out of it much quicker.
Thanks for listening to Insight Marketing Success, where marketing knowledge meets real-world experience from vision to execution.